In March 1945, with the Danish resistance on the verge of collapse, British Mosquito bombers prepared for a daring mission to strike the Gestapo's headquarters right in the heart of Copenhagen. Known as the Shell House, the building held files that could dismantle the resistance and expose its final members. However, in addition to files, the house held helpless Danish prisoners trapped on the upper floors. To destroy it, only a precision low-level bombing raid could succeed. For this, the Royal Air Force turned to Squadron Leader Ted Sismore, their premier low-level navigator, to lead the mission. Flying just above the town center at 250 miles per hour, the bombers closed in on their target. In addition to their 550-pound payloads, the Mosquito-flying men carried the weight of a nearly impossible mission. The Shell House. As the war in Europe approached its final months, the Modstandsbevægelsen, or Danish resistance movement, still faced an urgent threat. By the spring of 1944, the Geheime Staatspolizei, the German secret police, or Gestapo, had taken over the Shell House in downtown Copenhagen. Located just 1,600 feet west of the town hall, this 6-story office building was quickly transformed into the command center for all their operations within the tiny nation. SS Sturmbannführer Karl-Heinz Hoffmann led the Gestapo's sinister operations to dismantle the resistance. Inside the Shell House, there was a series of prison cells where suspicious Danish citizens were detained and interrogated. Additionally, the Germans kept meticulously organized files that documented the underground group's networks and movements. By late 1944, the resistance was close to total collapse. Desperate to stop this, its leaders turned to British operatives, pleading for a Royal Air Force raid on the Shell House. However, the request came with a significant complication, as the cells were located on the building's upper floors. The RAF knew that any attack on the Shell House would have to be low level to have any chance of freeing the detainees. At first, the branch hesitated. Targeting only the middle and lower floors of a building, nestled right in the heart of a bustling city, made hurting innocent bystanders almost certain. Nonetheless, the RAF committed to the increasingly urgent threat and, determined to make it work, set in motion Operation Carthage. Low-level difficulties. During World War II, bombing was often associated with imprecision and large-scale destruction. Early war efforts to conduct targeted strikes in Europe faced significant challenges, including technological limitations, insufficient training, and the highly unpredictable weather. As a result, both the Royal Air Force and the United States Army Air Forces relied on high-altitude bombing strategies, focusing on broad industrial complexes rather than pinpoint targets. While effective, these missions often devastated large swaths of German cities. However, one unit stood apart in defying these limitations: the Royal Air Force's No. 140 Wing, part of the 2nd Tactical Air Force. This team, composed of 3 squadrons, had mastered the art of low-level precision bombing. Armed with de Havilland Mosquito light bombers, known for their speed and agility, the 140 could make low-level strikes with never-before-seen accuracy. The wing's expertise earned the branch's most daring missions, referred to as Mosquito Daylight Spectaculars. At the heart of this unit's success was Air Commodore Edward Ted Sismore, celebrated as the Royal Air Force's premier low-level navigator. Known for his fearless precision, Sismore had already orchestrated daring daylight raids on high-profile targets. Most notably, on January 31, 1943, he and Reginald Reynolds led a low-level mission over Berlin, marking the RAF's first daylight bombing of the capital city. Their target was a Nazi rally at 11 a.m. Flying Mosquito bombers deep into enemy territory, they struck right on schedule, with powerful explosions interrupting Hermann Göring mid-speech. With his experience, the 140 Wing was seen as the only unit capable of pulling off such a daring strike. Not an easy feat. In addition to having an elite unit on their side, Operation Carthage required a level of precision akin to the pinpoint accuracy of modern laser-guided weapons. Carthage's most significant challenge was for the pilots to visually identify a single building within a densely packed urban area. To overcome this, The RAF organizers combined aerial photographs of the target zone with intelligence from Danish resistance members and produced a highly detailed relief model of the shell house and its surroundings. More than a visual reference, this model allowed pilots to fully immerse themselves in the flight plan and study the model from the same low angle they would experience during the attack. Precision was equally critical. In Carthage, the Mosquito crews planned to fly in at rooftop level and then release their bombs on a flat trajectory, skipping them right into the lower floors of the shell house. This way, the Allies would destroy the Gestapo's records, all while leaving the upper floors intact, giving prisoners a chance to escape. The strike was planned for late morning, when 2 shifts of Gestapo personnel would overlap, and most of the safes in the building containing documents would likely be open. While No. 140 Wing was prepared, plans to launch the raid on downtown Copenhagen in December were delayed, when the Allies decided to focus instead on the Battle of the Ardennes, a prominent German counteroffensive in Belgium and Luxembourg. In January 1945, poor weather forced another postponement. Finally, as winter turned to spring, with the Gestapo's stranglehold tightening more than ever, a desperate message was sent to London. An attack had to happen now, no matter the cost. Operation Carthage. On March 21, 1945, at 8:55 a.m., 20 Mosquitoes from No. 140 Wing lifted off from RAF First Field in Norfolk. The majority were armed with powerful 500-pound explosives, while 2 others were part of the film production unit, with cameras ready to capture the raid in real time. The men were escorted by 30 Mustangs from the 11th Fighter Group, set to neutralize anti-aircraft artillery across Copenhagen and clear the skies. Shortly after takeoff, however, 3 Mustangs aborted the mission and returned, either due to technical issues or a collision with a flock of seagulls. The remaining formation pushed forward, reaching Tisseau, a lake in Western Zealand, where the bombers split into 3 waves. The plan was simple on paper. Approach from the south, follow the coastline, and use these markers to align their final run on the shell house. Obstacles abound. The first wave of 6 de Havilland Mosquito bombers, led by Squadron Leader Ted Sismore and commanded by Group Captain Robert Bateson, roared into action from the west, flying at treetop level, their engines echoing through the heart of beleaguered Copenhagen. As the bombers passed Engave Station, disaster struck, when Wing Commander Peter A. Clevo flew so low that his Mosquito clipped a lamppost. The sudden impact sent the aircraft veering off course, and its wingtip struck a building, dislodging its 2 500-pound bombs. Detonating on impact with the ground, the out-of-control Mosquito crashed into a garage near a local school, tragically taking the lives of both crew members. Pressing onward, the remaining bombers, with Sismore's precise navigation, guided their aircraft into the heart of the target zone. At last, the shell house came into view. In perfect unison, the models unleashed their payloads, sending 6 500-pound bombs tearing right through the building's western wing. The initial explosions hurled debris into the streets, ripping through concrete and steel. Inside, the shockwave toppled walls and shattered windows, and within moments, flames erupted, and the gusting winds fanned the inferno, consuming the archives and sending thick plumes of smoke billowing high above the city. Despite the setbacks, the first wave accomplished the impossible. The shell house, the nerve center of Gestapo operations in Denmark, was now a scene of chaos. It was up to the final waves to finish the job. Confusion in Copenhagen. The second wave approached a city already in chaos. Smoke and flames from the earlier Mosquito crash blanketed the area, confusing the crews, who, disoriented by the haze, made the critical error of mistaking the crash site for the target. One of the wing commanders, Robert Wilson Iredale, realized the mistake just in time and redirected his own aircraft toward the actual shell house, successfully delivering his bombs on target. However, the other Mosquitoes in the wave failed to adjust course and release their payloads over the crash site. The third wave faced even greater disarray as they arrived. Led by Wing Commander F.M. Denton, the pilots encountered the same smoke-filled skies, and once again, the school was misidentified as the target. In this move, 6 Mosquitoes dropped their payloads prematurely, adding to the collateral damage. However, the The final aircraft in the wave, flown by Flight Lieutenant Bob Kirkpatrick, had a different mission. Kirkpatrick carried incendiaries meant to create a diversion beyond the shell house. Flying low, he steadied his Mosquito and delivered his payload a few blocks from the target. His devices scattered flames through the city, drawing attention away from the retreating bombers. Though his bombs fell more than half a mile away from the shell house, the diversion worked. On the way back, the Mosquitoes faced a perilous return. One crashed into rough waters near Hiven. Its crew was lost in the storm. Another disappeared over Europe Bay, while a third went down near Samsø. Even the Mustangs weren't spared. One was brought down by flak from the German cruiser Nürnberg, and another pilot was captured after crash landing near Copenhagen. Despite these missteps, the shell house building burned furiously, and amid the destruction, over a dozen of the prisoners seized the opportunity to escape. Through the lenses. The day after the raid, a reconnaissance aircraft of number 34 wing swept over downtown Copenhagen to photograph the area and assess the results, confirming the mission's devastating impact. The shell house was hit by a total of 8 500-pound bombs, 6 of them in the west wing and 2 in the east wing, leveling it almost to the ground. According to the official account of the report, quote, "The top story and root of the south front were destroyed, and the remainder was partially gutted and destroyed. The west wing was destroyed nearly to ground level. In the east wing, the top story and roof were destroyed and the floor below damaged. The mission was most successful." One of the raid's greatest successes was the number of surviving prisoners. Thanks to the pilot's careful targeting of the building's lower floors, most of the cells on the upper levels remained intact, allowing 18 of the 26 detainees to escape amid the chaos. In contrast, 55 German personnel, ranging from Gestapo officers to other working staff, were counted as casualties. After the raid, the Copenhagen resistance sent a message of gratitude to the Royal Air Force, as the destruction of the Gestapo archives neutralized the immediate threat to their members, allowing the resistance to continue its fight. Against immense odds, the RAF achieved this extraordinary feat. The untold truth. The price of this success was steep. 4 Mosquito bombers and 2 Mustang fighters were lost, and 9 airmen never returned from the mission. Even more tragedy, however, hung over the operation. At the Jeanne d'Arc school, more than 100 casualties, including teachers, nuns, bystanders, and worst of all, children, lost their lives. But the pilots of Operation Carthage weren't told the full extent of its consequences until after the war's end. Back at home, the men mourned their comrades while taking solace in the fact that the mission had disrupted an oppressive regime. Years later, Ted Sismore sat with a haunting realization. If every bomb had hit the shell house with the same devastating accuracy as the first wave, few, if any, prisoners would have survived the onslaught. He added, quote, "The loss of the children affected us very much." Today, a bronze cast propeller from one of the crashed Mosquito bombers is mounted on the wall of the shell house as a somber tribute. Beneath the propeller, a plaque lists the names of the 9 crew members who lost their lives during Operation Carthage.